Welcome, welcome everybody. My name is Kristen Tiggis, and this is my husband Tyler. He'll share more about himself in a second. But we live here in London, England. We moved here in October. Previous to that, we lived in Texas in the States. And so we became Founders 2.0 in May of last year. So it's been a little over a year. And we have two little boys, Elliot and Ever, and we love doTERRA. We've done doTERRA as a business for about 8.5 years now. And this business and the products have completely changed our life. And I'm just so honored to be here with these incredible ladies, Heather, Christina, and then Melissa. We're really excited to talk about this conversation because as awesome as Founders is, the business itself is so incredible and life-changing. And I think we're really at a pivotal moment right now where, we're nearing the end of Founders 2.0. Some of you are probably closing in on your positions, things like that. But we're going to enter a new season for doTERRA, and it's really exciting. And we want to talk about that today. Like, why is it exciting, and what does this season have for us? So anyways, I'm super excited to be here with these ladies, and they have so much to offer and share with us as well. So thanks for joining us.
Hi. Well, should I introduce myself, right? We should take maybe a couple of seconds to introduce.
Yes. Yes,
so hello,
absolutely.
everyone. My name is Cristina Badel. I am from Venezuela. I currently live in Miami, but in 2 weeks moving to Cancun, Mexico. So excited for that, and a little bit stressed too. You know how an international moving is, right, Kristen and Tyler?
Yes.
It's a lot of anxiety. But I have an oil for that, so I'm fine. So I'm super happy to be here today, sharing with you a little bit of how Kristen just said, the new season, it's coming for all of us in doTERRA. I'm doing this business for 4.5 years, and I see myself doing it for the rest of my life. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for, spending an hour of your Saturday with us today. I hope we can bring you some value, and welcome.
I'll jump in. So I'm Heather Reed, and I'm a Blue Diamond with doTERRA, and I've been with doTERRA for 8 years, but probably like 7.5 doing the business. And I was the second person to hit Founders. Christina beat me. I was so mad. I was like, it doesn't count. She's a founder everywhere. Anyway. But yeah, so gosh, that was in December 2020. So that feels like eons ago. And we'll kind of walk through like each of our stories of like what that's looked like and stuff. But like with that said, it's been a long 3 years. And it's become hard for any of us, even who have hit, to see past Founders. I can promise you that. A lot of people are either burned out, from their whole business, and maybe that's why you're here, needing some just kind of like to be re-energized about your business, or some people have ended up just so deep in it that it's consumed their identity, and that's a problem whether you've achieved it or are going to or not, because either way, that's just not a good thing. So we also want to bring back like a healthy perspective with the whole thing. And some people too never felt called to Founders. Like, it wasn't not their season. They were like, I just don't feel called to that. That's not the pace I want to go. It's not the right time. Or maybe you did feel super called for it, but like just you heard of doTERRA and joined a little bit too late. And I bet it feels like is the only way to find success Founders, because that's all people talk about, so it might feel like you like missed the boat or something. So we just like, there's a bunch of different, we just want this call to speak to everybody, like, right? Like whether you've hit Founders already, you're closing in on Founders, you never want to hit Founders, you wanted to, and you're falling short of that, but you want to keep pressing on. Like, this is for everyone. So we just hope that it encourages you.
Hey, so I'm Melissa. I feel so honored to be on this call. Did I ever think my face was going to be next to Cristina Badel's? I didn't. And I just want to say, Christina, you got off the stage at convention last year and I turned to my left and I said, why was she not the main speaker? They should have had you up there. You were by far the best, so encouraging. And I think part of that was because of your vulnerability on the stage. I think lots of times we get on a call like this or we see you walk on stage and we think, wow, that must have just been like step by step to the finish line for her in all of those places. And so just to hear you work through that vulnerably just meant so much to people. And so I hope that that's what this space can be a little bit this morning. And I'll start with the vulnerability. I'm the only host on the call that is not a Founder 2.0, and I won't be. 270 points strong. It's probably how I'll finish, maybe a few more. So I just want you to know, no matter like what your number is, you can thrive in this company. And so I think that's why they asked me to be a part of this. I have a husband named Josiah and 3 kids. And so that's the priority of my life, right next to my doTERRA business, because my doTERRA business allows me to be everything I want to be in those other areas. My oldest is 10. She's actually back here on this couch working for Kristen Tiggis right now. So funny. She does all of her USA mailing. So it's just so fun to also, like, that's all honestly a little piece for me is like, I get to help my kids understand like working and work ethic and entrepreneurship and all this stuff in this business that I own. I have an almost 8-year-old little boy and a almost 4-year-old daughter. And so we're actually leaving in just a few minutes here for another trip this summer. Anyway, I'm so thrilled to be here, but I hit Diamond in November of 2017. I had to go back and look. So it's been 5.5 years of Diamond, and since I hit in November, we fell back to gold 3 months and we fell back to platinum 7 months. So 10 months out of 5.5 years, I haven't hit diamond. So that means a lot of months doTERRA has paid me incredibly generously as a doTERRA diamond, and it's totally revolutionized my life. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But anyway, I'm so thrilled to be able to be here with all of you.
Awesome. My name is Tyler, husband to Kristen, obviously live in London as well. We have 2 boys. And I get to chime in here a little bit. I love this company. I love this business. And so I love these kinds of conversations. Some of you may be on this call or watching the recording and have no idea when we say Founder Club 2.0, you might not know what that means. So doTERRA, it's a brilliant business model that doTERRA has implemented from the very beginning 15 years ago, where they open up an additional incentive whenever they open in a new market, meaning like a new country, like India, the UAE, Europe, all these different places. When they open initially, they create an additional incentive in order to attract and build leadership in that market. And so it's an additional bonus on top of the already amazing compensation plan, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But the purpose is to just like get a lot of momentum started right at the beginning. So the US Founder Club 2.0 that we've been referring to is a second round of Founder Club in the United States. And the reason doTERRA does this is obviously it's a brilliant strategy, but they also understand this concept that when we are blessed, it's better to bless others by building a bigger table as opposed to building a bigger wall to keep others out. They're wanting to expand the table so that more of us can participate in this amazing thing that we call doTERRA. And as already has been mentioned, so this US Founders Club 2.0 is actually coming to a close at the end of next month, the end of August. But we're going to talk the rest of the time about what does doTERRA look like beyond August.
I'll just add in, Tyler shared that all. I know many of you have heard that like definition probably many times. You're like, yeah, we get the Founders Club stuff. But we know that there's also some new people on that might be considering doTERRA for the first time as a source of diversifying their income or, building a business and completely replacing their income. So if that's you, I just want to give you a little shout out, say like, hey, you're so welcome here. And I love the founders' opportunity in general when they do it in any market because It just really, it is such a like strategic thing, but also like Founders 2.0 in the US really showed doTERRA's culture. And that's a piece of our business opportunity that's so different than what you'll find in a lot of other business opportunities.
I think just the fact that those 25 original founders sat down and said, hey, we don't want the money to just sit. I think that's what you're saying. Maybe I wasn't paying attention enough, but like that really impacted me. So whether or not I have a founder's check, like to know that I'm like underneath this leadership that wants the support and wealth and whatever spread, like I already love Gina Truman so much. She's our upline. And it was like, it just exploded in me from there to realize like, she just had this desire to see it down in people that were way off of her unilevel and paycheck, like really be impacted. So.
Yeah.
So good.
So one of the things we wanted to talk about is how, so those of us that have already achieved Founders 2.0 position in the US, how has that impacted us? And
the answer might surprise you.
It is definitely a blessing, and it's something that we are incredibly grateful for. But to be completely honest, it has not impacted our life really at all, like in the right now.
At all is maybe a little.
Financially, it has not impacted our life at all right now. There's other things that we'll talk about.
It's minimal,
but it's
not at all.
It's a long-term thing that will impact our lives tremendously and our family and our entire family tree over the next like 5 to 50 years. But one of the things that has impacted us by becoming Founder 2.0 is we get to be a part of this group of leaders that are like-minded, that have incredible hearts, that are motivated by impacting people's lives. And we get to be in this beautiful partnership with, so it's us as wellness advocates, wellness advocates and doTERRA corporate partnering together to help people heal, to help improve lives all around the globe. And being a part of that group of people partnering with doTERRA corporate is amazing and incredible. And it gives me, and honestly, even if we weren't a founder, it gives me a lot of trust knowing that there's these group of people that are like leading the way to continue growing doTERRA in the wellness advocate space alongside doTERRA corporate as we continue to grow. So.
And I'll just add that like Christina and Melissa and Heather, they'll all share about how the compensation plan, like doTERRA as a business completely by itself, standing outside of Founder 2.0, has already like completely changed our lives. And for us, doTERRA as a business had changed our life before the Founder 2.0 opportunity even like came to be. We didn't even decide to go for it right away. I did. Okay, Tyler did. I was hesitant. But I share that to say like before Founder 2.0, before we had a Founder 2.0 position, Tyler was able to leave his full-time work. And because of that, he had way less stress and was able to fully reverse his autoimmune condition. And I'm like 100% confident that would not have happened if he had to stay in his other job and continue to provide for our family in the way that he had leading up to it. We hit diamond, he quit his job. He came home with us full time, and we continued to do doTERRA as a business. He healed his autoimmune condition, or like God healed his body through him having way less stress. And then he also got to have significantly more time with our boys, which is a huge value of our family. Personally, it's been such a gift for him to spend more time with our kids. And then fast forward, now we're actually living in Europe, which has been like a lifelong dream for us. Even when we dated, like over 12 years ago.
Too long ago.
Over 12 years ago, we talked about like living in Europe, being a part of growing a church somewhere internationally. And so now we're living that dream for the first time in our life. And it's because of our check that we get every single month from doTERRA through the normal compensation plan. And so I say that just to say the business is incredible, even outside of Founder 2.0. I'm trying to remember Heather's going to share next.
Yeah, so similar sentiments all the way down to the autoimmune stuff, by the way. But yeah, so like just to clarify too, the reason that the founders check or the bonus has not been life changing, although like I'm not mad at it, right? But that's because like if you don't know, just give more background, like that's going to take time to grow. I'm not sure if we touch on that, but so we're years out from that fully maturing. Now it will grow, and it's not like we have to wait till it's, you know, at that $2 billion revenue mark in the US, but so we'll get the interim, but that's going to take a while, and it's going to take, you know, especially for it to fully max out. So yeah, the check, I wouldn't say we would call it life changing yet, but the position has been life changing. I think it's a reflection, like the position right now is a reflection of the long-term commitment. And like, again, giving more background, like they didn't do it just like doTERRA didn't offer this just to grow from that 1 billion in the US to 2 billion, right? They did it to identify leaders, because like founders are like a whole different breed of people, because it's just like whether you did it fast, like some of us did, or whether you took the 3 years. I think at this point, I don't know which one's more impressive, like hanging on the 3 years, or, you know, so, so it really is a reflection of that. And it was, it was just as much of an appeal to me, the leadership aspect, that they're looking for the next generation of leaders, as the check was. I mean, I always knew I had strong leadership skills, but I was like, where am I gonna flex them? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. So anyway, that's been just holding that title, honestly, has just called us into higher level of leadership, I think, because however you want to look at it, whether it's just you literally knowing you hold that title, whether it's, you know, literally more eyes on you in the company from the field, and also corporate, more partnerships with corporate, like you're just called to a higher level of leadership. Like there's no way around that. And that has been absolutely life altering for me, like in ways we don't even have time to go over, and ways that I can't even fully explain because they're just such God things. But just that call to higher level leadership is this whole new level of like confidence in the way you carry yourself and what you attract. And that has blown my business, just like blown it up entirely in the best way. So yeah, the responsibility has been a lot, but it's been good. And then like when I started too, I didn't know founders was going to be a thing. I started when I was 20 years old in college, and I am naturally a visionary, futuristic's my number two. So I was like, okay, well, if I start this now, I like understood that it was for the long term. So I was like, if I start this now, one day when I'm married, I was totally single. One day when I'm married and have kids, maybe I could be home with them. That's literally like what my thought was in starting doTERRA business, because I saw the long-term plan. So from the start, that came naturally to me, that I wasn't trying to like get rich overnight or whatever. I of course did a bunch of things like coming out of college alongside doTERRA until it could like kind of take over and I could leave those other things behind. But I guess that's like the point I want to drive home with this is, yeah, futuristic. I know you guys too, right, Tyler? So yeah, like that, that mentality carried me through even achieving founders, because I knew we weren't going to reap those benefits right away. That wasn't the point, right? Like I did it for the long term, and I'm still doing it for the long term, because of course we have to uphold that. And so a couple things I'll end this note on. Like, okay, so we don't really know how many people are going to finish out founders, right? So we don't know exactly how much the check will cap out at, but let's just call it $100,000 every year. That's incredible. That will absolutely be life altering. Like, you know, and like, oh my gosh, especially if you have a spot, if you're about to get a spot, like it's amazing, right? But here's the thing. You can blow $100,000 out of the water with the normal comp plan. You can. And that's very possible. Again, you kind of need that long-term vision for that, but I don't want people to lose sight of that, because many people in the company, I'll be honest with you, there's some people in the company who didn't really bat an eyelash at founders because they're like, that's like compared to my check, like, that's smaller percentage in the company probably, but still like it's possible. And then a couple things that you guys shared that made me just think of some things I jotted down here. This is, I guess, kind of on a side note, but I just also want to say like the gratitude for the original founders and executives is, yeah, it's, again, if you don't know that, like the original founders and the executives took a pay cut, capped their pay to come up with this 2% to share with us. And that, like, even before seeing really the payout for that, like one of the first things I did, I wrote a handwritten letter to all of the original founders and the executives, just being like, I literally can't even, like, again, I don't even need to see the money yet to understand that level of generosity and everything. And I hope that gives you guys peace of mind. I think maybe Tyler mentioned this, but like the amount of people, like it's already feels good that we have 7 executives, right? Not just like one, like that gets a little scary, but they also like the 25 and then this 1 to 200, everybody we end up with, like that is, we are partners with the company. I hope that gives you peace of mind, whether you become or are a founder or not. Like, just know that even the handful of us here in this Zoom room that are founders, like we can act as this bridge between the field and the company, and really just like strengthen that communication. So I know that was kind of a side note, but those were just strong points I wanted to touch on. So I think I'm going to pass it to Christina as she talks about more about just like doTERRA's compensation plan outside of founders.
Mhm. Thank you, Heather. I loved everything you shared. Well, I was thinking, what can I say to these people that can be different from something you have heard before and how amazing our compensation plan is, right? So I thought about 2 things. First, I have a new builder that she's coming from another network marketing company, okay? And she's super excited and I'm super excited. And with her, I understood that when you study other compensation plans from other companies is when you get to realize how amazing is ours. And I will give you just this little example. In other network marketing companies, you are not able to help your people to grow, right? So for example, everyone you enrolls stay in your front line. So in order to hit your ranks, you need your people to do X amount of work monthly, like they can't stop, because if they stop, then they don't hit their ranks and you don't hit yours. But in doTERRA, she tells me, like, Christina, it's amazing that if I am a top enroller, for example, I can help my team to grow by placing people under them. She was amazed only by understanding placements. Something that for me, because this is my first network, my first and only and last network marketing company, I just thought like, okay, in any company, they should, let people place people on there. No. This is something, well, I wouldn't know if it's doTERRA, it's the only one, but she was amazed. And that made me thought like, we are human beings, we have families, we have lives, and there's going to be months where you are working super strong and super hard, and there are going to be months where you don't. And doTERRA, with all these facilities, all these, placement things, basically they are allowing us to be humans, right? And if there is a month that you can't work that hard, you have a team that you can rely on, and vice versa, right? When you have a leader that is going through a very difficult situation and you're working hard, you can place people under this leader and help her thrive. So that was one thing that came to my mind. Like, she made me see this, that for me was kind of obvious, and I give it for granted. And she was like, no, Christina, you have no idea how amazing this is. So I wanted to share that with you. And the second thing is a story. So 2 years ago, I won an incentive for the Latino market, okay? And I won a dinner with Greg Cook. So for those of you that don't know, Greg Cook is one of the founders, one of the executive founders, right? And I was sitting with him in the same table in the dinner, and we were, casually speaking. And he told us in that moment that he was one of the people that created the compensation plan. So not all the executives participated on the creation of the compensation plan, but he was one of the ones, right? And he was telling me, Christina, I want you to understand that everything we do in doTERRA has a purpose and a mission behind. So sometimes it's easier for people to focus on how amazing the compensation plan is financially speaking. And it is, right? It is. But I want to share with you what he told me about the values that are behind in each bonus they pay us. And I'm going to read because I created this post on my Instagram almost 2 years ago. It's here, August 2021. And I created this post like the day after because I was so amazed with what he explained me. So please take notes about this. So he told me, these are the values that the compensation plan, doTERRA compensation plan teach us. So fast start bonus, they pay us for being brave, okay? And what does it mean to be brave? They pay us for sharing with others the products that are going to help us, for being at the service of others, for not being afraid of making a huge impact on people. That is the fast start. So yeah, it's amazing. You enroll people, you get the 20%, but actually doTERRA is teaching you how to be brave and go out there and share these gifts with them. That was amazing. So the Power of 3 bonus, they pay us for teamwork, okay? So for leveraging the strength of the people of your team for a common purpose, for teaching our partners that it's possible and that we all deserve living in abundance, for working hand by hand, always together, and align our goals to the same direction. So that is the Power of 3, right? It's teamwork. That is exactly what doTERRA is teaching us with the Power of 3. Now, unilevel. So unilevel, doTERRA teaches to be consistent and perseverant. Does that word exist in English? Perseverant, to be, sorry, English, it's not my first language, but consistent. Okay, to be consistent. So not to give up. So if we fell down, we get to stand up again, to reinvent ourselves, to continue to persist and find different ways to go on. So that would be the value behind the unilevel bonus. The leadership bonus, so what they are teaching us is commitment and how do you say this word in English? Someone here speaks Spanish. Chris, I see you, Chris Murcia. How would you say superación in English? Write it on the chat. Superación, it's like overcoming, like overcoming obstacles and commitment. So when you get paid with that bonus, the leadership bonus, you learn how to be, how to do exactly what you promise and teach others to get to another step on the stairs. So this bonus pays us for fighting obstacles and keep walking and going on. So that would be the leadership bonus. And lastly, the founder bonus, what teaches us is about sacrifice and, sorry, I don't have the word in English either, voluntad. It's like, Chris, you again, please help me. I have my personal translator here. So willingness, yes. So sacrifice and willingness. And that is exactly what founders do. So what do? We believe, okay? We believe that something bigger is coming, okay? We don't see it yet. We just have faith on what it is. And we teach people by faith that something good is going to be there, and we believe and we work for that. So what he wanted to tell me with this is that doTERRA, yes, it's an amazing opportunity. It has an amazing compensation plan, but what you are going to become when you earn each of these bonus, it's what it's important. And doTERRA, it's like a personal value and personal growth university. And how do you study in this university? By earning this bonus. But how do you earn this bonus? by learning all those skills and learning all those values. So this is something I wanted to share because he explained me in such a humble way, as all the executives are, right? And I thought, oh my God, how can I explain people that there is so much more behind the financial possibilities that doTERRA offers? So I wanted to share that with you. I hope you like it, and just tell you by my own experience that the compensation plan is true. I've been through all those ranks. I'm founder in 3 markets. So it's for real. If you're willing to work, if you're willing to help, if you have clarity in your goals, if you are willing to be and serve others, I mean, this is for everyone that is willing to grow. So thank you, and let's give the mic to Melissa.
I'm so glad you shared that. And this doesn't really answer the question quite yet, and I'll get there. But we're asked all the time as successful leaders in doTERRA, like when you reach out to your downline, you're like, what do you want to learn about the business? You know, you do a training or retreat or whatever, and they always say the same thing. How do I find builders? And I think what you just shared right there, in conjunction with actually being able to regurgitate the compensation plan. I got obsessed with the compensation plan right before I hit Diamond. And I think that was a huge piece in me moving over, is because there was no one that I could come in contact with in the community, within my team, Crossline or whatever, that could convince me that I couldn't make money in this company, or that it wasn't a safe bet or whatever, because I understood how it worked and why it was so much freaking better. Are those words in English? I don't know. I don't know the English either, Christina. So much better than any other compensation plan I've ever seen. I have friends in every other company that's ever been made, and anytime they tell me how they're making money, I'm like, that doesn't really encourage community. That doesn't really encourage you to be brave. That doesn't really help you align your goals with your team. Like, you've actually given me words for why our comp plan rocks outside of just how it's actually laid out. And so I want to encourage anyone that if you want to find more builders, you need to get obsessed with the compensation plan and the way that it's set up, and be able to articulate it and verbally explain why it's so great, the 5 ways to be paid, and why that influences all of those things that Christina's talking about. And then you have to start telling people about it. You can't just write it in your notebooks and keep it for yourself. You got to start teaching it to your downline and start doing business classes where you're inviting people in from other network marketing, and just say, hey, I want you to hear what's different about doTERRA. Okay, that was my little side note. I'm so glad you shared that. The question was, how has doTERRA changed my life? And how has the compensation plan specifically changed my life? I guess, I mean, the piece of it in my doTERRA business is that it's helped me find leaders that are just as excited about making an impact, earning money, supporting other women. And so that's the piece of understanding the comp plan. But ironically, we got home last night from a camping trip, and as we're doing the loads of laundry to transition into this next trip this morning, my husband yells from the basement, the water heater's broken, water's gushing everywhere. And the last time that happened was 8 years ago, which is really interesting because, number one, if you've ever checked the warranties, they never last longer than 6 years. So don't buy the warranty, because they always break at 8 years. Now I have 2 water heaters to prove they break at 8 years. But 8 years ago, if you remember at the beginning, I wasn't Diamond. And that was a really freaking big deal to have a water heater broke. It actually broke in December 8 years ago, the week before Christmas. And it's like, oh, well, we've just spent all our money and then some. Now it's on credit cards, and we're going to do all this driving for Christmas. It was like massive stress. And last night when that happened, we actually both kind of went back into that space immediately, like, because we've just been on a big trip to South Carolina, like we're spending some pretty significant money this summer. And all of a sudden I went, wait, no, I have money for that. Just order it. Because doTERRA has given me the opportunity to not only provide all the things that we need on a daily basis. My kids are in private education, never would be able to do that without doTERRA. I buy 90% organic groceries because that's something that we value as a family, healthy food. I actually messaged Kristen, I don't know, 6-8 months ago, when all those like inflation prices were starting. I went to the gas station and filled up my SUV, and I looked at the receipt and I'm like, how are people doing this without a second stream or multiple streams of income? I don't know, because I have more than enough and I'm still like, ooh, ouch, that's kind of painful. And yet I'm like able to provide that for my family. And so I'm so grateful that I put in the work leading up to this point. And that's why I just can't encourage you enough. Like, the work is so worth it, even if you don't see the need right now, because you don't know where you're going to be at in 3 and 4 and 5 and 8 years. And you don't know when your water heater is going to break in the middle of December. And for us to just be able to transfer that money, hire the plumber, go on our trip and let them take care of it, man, that's life-changing stuff. And it's simple stuff, but it's yeah, totally changed everything for me. So anyway, there's so much more. I'm going to explain a little bit more and as we get going here, but I'm curious, Heather, like what is your business going to look like now post Founders? Like you just said that 3 years has been just like sucked up in and now what?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like, I've been dying for September 1st. Like, I'm not even gonna front. Like, it's been a good run, but it's just I'm so ready for the next season. Yeah, so we did hit in like 6 to 7 months. So we did do it quickly, but one of the reasons I wanted to do it so quickly was to turn around and help anybody on my team who wanted to go for Founders as well. And so in a lot of ways, after we hit was actually a lot more work, and it's great. Like it's the best thing. It's a great, shouldn't even call it a problem, but just, I was gonna say it's a great problem to have, but it's just, yeah, we're ready for a new season. I always say you should identify the season that you're in. And so we knew that was, our sacrifice season. And then it's just, well, so I'm gonna walk you through actually my story for the best way to just explain all of this, and hopefully some of this resonates with you guys, or just pick and choose what does. So doTERRA thought, I have some notes because I talk way too much, so someone feel free to give me the buzzer. So doTERRA thought Founders was going to close in like 12 months. Okay. And so I felt pretty good about that timeline. They even said like maybe 18 months tops. And I remember my husband Matt was like, no way, these spots are closing in 6 months. And I'm like, I don't think. And he was like, fast forward, he told me that to like just get me going. So he like scared me a little bit, by the way. I was like, shoot, like for real. And then like as we got closer, like I don't know, I thought there was gonna be a flood of them in December. Anyway, the reason I say this, so that's a reasonable amount of time for a sacrifice season, is what I'm saying. And so when we were like, hey, we're going to do this in like 6 to 7 months, that felt like nothing to me. I feel like I could do anything for 6 months, right? Problem is, it's now been well over 3 years, right? So like it's just been a long time. So we had the idea that we would like go hard and fast. And now I actually from the beginning said that I wanted to make rest a really important part of my story. But that only goes so far when you're doing something like that in that time frame on this like deeper level of rest. And so the idea is you kind of recoup after, right? Well, again, problem is for most people, this went way longer, and 3 years is a long sacrifice season, like very long. And that's why people are burning out and things like that. So keep in mind, I did do it fast, but I turned right around and was like, okay, now to rally my team. Like I want to like pour specifically into your guys's needs beyond, my own founder's journey. So, but let me clarify too, like what I mean by like a sacrifice season. What that looked like for me was just like building in a way that was just not sustainable long-term for my life. And I knew that. Again, that's why we identified, hey, this is a different season. We knew what to expect. But just between the amount of hours or when the hours were, I mean, I had a newborn, so it was like nights and weekends were when I did doTERRA stuff that was like focused, just like the level of intensity in rallying people. Yeah, it was just, I knew that I had to find better like rhythms after the fact. So, okay, so a couple more notes here. I was like, along with that sacrifice season, I was also doing what I could with what I had in terms of organization. I feel like some of you know what I mean by that, but it was just so fast that I was just like, hey, what you got? What can you give me? Like, who can show up? And that, I'll kind of get to this in a minute, but that has totally changed and is continuing to change as Founders ends. And so, but for me, I knew that Founders actually wasn't the end game. For me, it was actually like a totally new beginning, which I know sounds really exhausting. But again, this is about the long game here. So I never saw a finish line from the day it was announced, which was the day I decided I was going to go for it. I said this to Matt. I was like, I said, I don't see this as a finish line. I see it as an open door, which is like pretty crazy when you're like sitting there, just announced 0 points, like no idea how it's going to happen. And I still was like, that's actually the beginning. Again, futuristic. So, okay. So once I hit, I was like, this is where it begins. This is where I'm now held accountable, because there's nothing like, there's no better accountability than that like $100,000 check, even if it's in the future, right? Like to hold my business. And that's part of why I wanted it too. I wanted to be held to that. And so I knew it was like go time. I was almost going to like rebuild. I honestly hit the reset button. I really did. I had a whole new standard for the people and the leaders I attracted. And part of the reason I'm sharing a lot of this too is because I've seen a lot of people look at Founders and they see these people hit Founders and then they think that we're like set for life and that we're just like living the dream. And again, huge blessing, but I promise you that out of all the Founders that have hit, I can promise you they probably started working harder after Founders. Because again, you're just new level of leadership. It was some of it was probably fast and furious, or reallocating your resources or volume or whatever to places where you wouldn't normally put it for your normal business in order to get those Founder points, right? So I can promise you that they started working harder. And again, that's without seeing the pay yet. So yeah, so sorry, I'm kind of like jumping through my notes here, but I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting these points. Yeah, so I really wanted to get regular sustainable rhythms in place for my own business building activities, for my relationships with my leaders, and even like the customer experience. And again, do a lot of rebuilding because some people I knew I was going to meet them. I mean, we always meet people where they're at, but like especially during Founders, it's an interesting thing, or not just Founders, but like even when you have crazy goals, but maybe those don't totally align with your team, but you have to kind of marry the two. And so after I had a lot of people actually like quit, literally like practically was announced Founder and they quit, not because of that or anything, but just like, it just wasn't kind of like in alignment. So there's a lot of rebuilding to do. And again, just hit the reset button on everything. So I'm going to try to wrap the end of this story up to get to now, but like after that, there was enough time to then turn around and help my team hit Founders. So in a way, I did it all over again, and still like some of my team are wrapping up here in these next few months. And in a way that was, I don't want to say harder, more, but maybe more intense, because it wasn't just one plan, and my plan that I had to stick to was like multiple, and it's been a lot. And so because of that, a lot of my work, especially this last year, has been behind the scenes, which is great. Like it's been the best way that I can serve my leaders going for it. There's even been times where I've kind of put my own rank on the back burner, which I also knew I would do for the sake of helping, my people get to Founders, because rank will always be there. But I wanted to help people get to Founders now. So that's been right and appropriate for that season. But going forward, I wouldn't say we're going to hit the reset button, because we've gotten a lot of amazing things in place over these last, years since, but definitely like the refresh, like definitely I want my team to experience some deep rest and rejuvenation. And refine those systems that we have. I know we don't have like a ton of time to kind of go over like nitty gritty of what that like looks like, but I love systems. Like our team's motto is smarter, not harder. Like we like to streamline as much as possible. And sometimes that's really served us during our founder's journey, but some of it, we didn't even have time to put things in place to be streamlined because we were going too fast and just kind of have to do the things manually, you know? So I am looking forward to not being spread as thin so that I can kind of show up again and on the forefront of my business, because this is by no means like managerial mode. It's quite the opposite. I would definitely say I've been in a season of servant leadership for sure. But that could easily, if you're not proactive about it, kind of shift and slide back into managerial mode. Like, okay, you guys got it. You're founders. I did my part. Like, okay, you know, and I don't ever want to do that in my business and, or even be tempted that way. And so I'm excited to get back. Like normally I'm doing so much more like educating and going live on Instagram and all the things. And like lately, I mean, you guys, this year I was like, I posted a graphic for BOGOs. I don't know, like I normally go live every day for those. And, but again, it's all been okay. Like I hope some of this resonates at all, or you can apply it to something, but that stuff is okay. You just have to identify the season. I know that that's the season I'm in, and I'm so excited. Like literally September 1st is a new season. And I really hope that you guys do some kind of quarterly review with yourself, your spouse, your team. My team and I, my frontline leaders, we get on a quarterly call and we're like, okay, what's up? What was good this quarter? What was not good this quarter? What does the next quarter look like? Like you have to be doing those kind of check-ins and knowing what kind of season that you're in, and then making sure they're all in alignment, or that you're adjusting and compensating for what's not in alignment with everybody. So yeah, so I mean that's us. Like my team, we're definitely just like getting through. It's like, trying to graduate, like we're just trying to get there. And then I know like I'm kind of answering the last question too, but I guess while I'm talking about it, the last question we'll talk kind of about like what we are doing in this last quarter. And so I'll just give my answer now because I'm already halfway there. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of like rest, refreshing things, refining systems, and maintaining and just, supporting, making sure that we can sustain what we have. But also again, identify the season. Fall is naturally enormous. Fall and early winter is naturally enormous in doTERRA. So although you might close founder and want to keep that momentum, there's already some momentum there. So I would just give you some advice not to do crazy bells and whistles. You're going to get thrown into convention products, and then the product releases, and then holiday items, BOGOs, and then just like Christmas. To be honest, that's taking my team through the end of the year. Even though I want to reset or like refresh stuff and set a new thing, like that's going to kind of take us through the last quarter. And I always look forward to doing our year-end call with me and my frontline, that we do a big team 1-2 to then convey that information. And of course I do that with my husband as well. And we make sure all that stuff is in alignment. So really for me, like 2024 is kind of where we're going to be doing more of that, like refining and things like that. So that was a lot for me. So who am I passing it to next? I think Tyler next. Are you going next? Or is it?
That was great. Thanks for sharing that, Heather. Really great tips in there. And I know some of you are putting them in the chat. I love this, right? We all get to share tips and learn. Like most of us aren't even on the same team. So it's great. So one of the questions was, why is now a great time to start? Maybe you're on this call or you're listening to the recording and you're like, why should I start now? Or maybe you're like Heather and like a lot of us, it's like, we've been doing this for years, but it's a fresh start. It's not a brand new start. It's just like a restart. And I have a whole list, Melissa. I don't know how many you have written down, but there are so many reasons. So first of all, the longevity, like Heather, I have futuristic as my #1 strength. And I love the futuristic perspective of this company and the owners, the 7 owners, and the abundance mindset, the generosity, the way that Christina just walked through the compensation plan, like there's purpose in everything that doTERRA is doing. obviously it's not all going to be perfect, but there's purpose and intentionality, and the goal is to create impact and to bless as many people as possible. So that's like at least 5 reasons to partner with doTERRA right now. But with this Founders Club wrapping up, we now have, you know, over 200 people, 200,
including the OG founders.
including the OG founders, including the owners of the company. Like they aren't going anywhere. If they were going to just like build a company quick and cash out, they would have done that years ago. But they're all still in it, and they are making plans. They're investing in infrastructure. They're investing in operations. They're investing and upgrading in every area of the business, both product wise and behind the scenes, the infrastructure of the company. So that's amazing. The doTERRA products are needed now as much as ever, right? If you think about the things that people are struggling with health-wise, doTERRA has products that meet those needs, right? We already talked about how amazing the compensation plan is. And I just think doTERRA is, the way I think about doTERRA is it's a freedom vehicle. It is a health freedom vehicle. It's a financial freedom vehicle. It's a geography freedom vehicle. We get to choose if we want to drive it or not. And I think right now, the best time to start would have been like yesterday, but the next best time to start is today, right? And so I think right now is the best time to link arms with your best friends, your like-minded community, and to run after this opportunity using this freedom vehicle that doTERRA is, and just go all in. I think it's the best opportunity that there is right now. I love real estate. I'm just gonna be honest. I love real estate. I love stocks. I love like all things financial. And when I think about I look at our family budget, I'm like, how can we like grow? How can we improve? It's expensive living in London. And I always come back to doTERRA's compensation plan. It's like, this is better than real estate. This is better than stock options. It's better than crypto. It's more reliable, more predictable than any of those things. And so we are doubling down on doTERRA. And I know there's just so many of us that are doing the same. So I invite you to start afresh or start for the first time today.
Yeah.
I feel
would you
like I actually wrote freedom as the first thing that I wrote on my line. But before I get there, so like I said, I've been doing doTERRA since 2015, then went gold early 2017, diamond end of 2017. And like even all throughout that, I can't say that I told you, I got obsessed with the compensation plan and was sharing that. But at the end of the day, if you would have asked me which job is more secure and like the safest bet long term between mine as in network marketing and my husband's in sports retail, I would have said my husband's, because they're just, for a lot of reasons. I guess I won't get into that. But what happened was, in 2020, the world started shifting. Y'all felt it when we were all sitting on our couches ready to board our airplanes down to Phoenix, and Emily Wright gets on and tells us we're not going anywhere. Like, you could just feel it, right? And then the world started changing. And for the first time, my husband's retail company that has like literally never been closed a day, never laid off, always growing, like stocks are always increasing, like literally the most sustainable company I've really ever experienced, was like, we're going to furlough all of our part-time employees. And we actually don't need our assistant store leaders to come in at 8. We're going to just have you guys work a small shift. Like, they were like preparing for a change. And I realized all of a sudden that his job wasn't any more guaranteed than mine was. And I think some of that, like, misbelief was put into my spirit from people that meant well in my life. My husband and myself were not raised in entrepreneurship land. Everybody goes to school, at least through high school, if you're lucky, maybe through college, and then you go out and you interview and you get a job and you work it for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And then like you retire, maybe if you have enough money, and then like that's just what you do. And so me over here, like having discussions with my mother-in-law about, and other people about our plans, it was like, really? Like, why would you, he wouldn't quit his job though, right? Like it was all this fear, like you've got this risky gig over here, Melissa, that could be gone like that. Why wouldn't you put all your eggs in this basket that seems so safe? And for the first time, it was like, my business exploded. The largest paycheck outside of one other that I've had in doTERRA was in April of 2020, sorry. And his hours were being like decreased, this like salaried full-time employee that's been with the company for 18 years. So anyway, I just like, that's why this gig is so sweet long-term, is because it's one of the safest bets that you can be a part of, because it's really outside of the foundation that we were talking about, which is obviously so secure. It's completely reliant on you, and you get to determine on how far you want to go, how much you want to succeed. And so that really changed the outlook and why this is such a long-term thing for you. And then Christina made a comment earlier that I wrote down one other line that I'll share, and I wrote invest in women. And in other things, Kristen mentioned that we are a very generous family, and I like appreciate that. Like our goal really is to have enough for ourselves and to give the rest away. And doTERRA is the only reason we can do that. Like I grew up in a family that was massively involved, actually like planted our church. And so we'd have missionaries that would come in, and my parents would always give what they could, but it was never like an exceeding amount, because we had periods in my childhood when we didn't have enough money for groceries. Like it was just, you know, that's how a lot of our parents' generations grew up. And so I get to this place and I have this opportunity to, you know, be supported by my husband who's working full time, and then to have this that can get that extra, like I talked about, the organic groceries, the giving to missionaries, the private education for my kids and all that. And then I still have this extra that I get to go and invest in women that want to do what I'm doing. And so I launched a brand new Silver. She went from 0 to Silver in 7 months, 2 kids on like 3 and under, husband, full-time police officer in Michigan during COVID. Like this is when she did that. So I'm telling you that business is still possible and you can do it fast. But the only reason I was able to help her do it that quickly was because I had enough money in my business that I could fly out from South Dakota to Michigan I think I've been out there 4 times. We did a retreat out there, so maybe 5, I don't know, I'm losing track. But what Christina was saying, like taking someone that's brand new and saying, hey, I actually see massive potential in you. And if you're willing to do this and you're coachable and whatever, like I'm going to invest my time, talent, and resources into you to help you move forward. There is nothing more exciting than being able to be that person in somebody's life. And that's why this game is so worth it long term. A lot of people I meet with like have their initial needs met. And so they think doTERRA doesn't make sense for them. And I'm like, but what could happen? Like what doors could open if all of a sudden there was a financial opportunity for you to invest in a woman that didn't have what you have? That's it. So it could be, you could do this business just for yourself and what you need for your family, but it could be so much. I mean, that's what Heather's doing. That's what she just talked about, you know, like, how do I take what I've been blessed with and bless it out? Like, that's why we're here. That's why this matters. So.
Thank you, Melissa. And well, just to wrap up the call, because we know your time is valuable. So now we want to share with you a little bit of how are we investing our time, energy, and resources for the last quarter of the year to see growth. And I want to say it all depends on you know how available you are for your business and also your rank. So your responsibilities are going to change a little bit. So for instance, in my case as a presidential diamond, right now, I'm not trying to focus that much on my rank. I try to focus more on my uni level. And how do I do that? I support people even though they don't personally qualify me, because when I see potential, I don't care if they are at my 5th, 6th, 7th level. I want to be part of that growth. And that is something that I learned after being presidential diamond. I was always obsessed on helping the people that qualify me or their qualifiers. And at some point, I understood that the people that are willing to do the work are the people that need our help. So right now, because my rank is pretty stable, I really want to help people. I don't care where you are on my structure. I try to focus on help them reach their rank. And also because I built my organization mostly online, right now I'm feeling the energy to go more into in-person events. So I think that's kind of the vibe right now. People, the pandemic, it's gone, but we all need to get together again, be in person. That energy and that connection, it's really difficult to have it through these platforms that are amazing, but that's the missing key, right? So I would say that, and also tell you, as Christine and Tyler said, they moved to London because it was, their dream. They wanted to be there. And in our case, we're moving to Mexico. We're not Mexicans. We just love Mexico and we love Cancun. And, we wanted to live in front of the beach and all that. And the only way we're able to do that, it's because we have this amazing business. And it sounds cliche and it sounds like, oh, I've heard that so much, but it's true. Believe me, when we hit Presidential Diamond, it's super normal to find ways to diversify your money. Okay, that's super normal. Like, okay, we have this main income, but how can we multiply? And as Tyler said, my husband started looking for real estate, for stocks, for options, for blah, 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 blah. And always after all his research and everything, we always come back to doTERRA. It's like, there's no better thing than this. And not only because of the money, it's because there is no other business where you can create the impact you will create here. So yes, you can have 10 buildings and have the rent of all those buildings, but that is empty money. Empty money. Here you create wealth, you create health, you help people, and that's why doTERRA, it's for me. I said in Spanish, el paquete completo, which means like the perfect package, like the round package, because it has everything. It has service, help, growth, community, connection, good money. Like, come on, what else are we looking for? We have everything here. So this is not a new beginning. This is not the end of nothing. This is what it is. So continue working, continue dreaming. You are at the right place. Believe me, get inspired, connect with people that fill your tank, and you're going to be awesome. You're going to be awesome. You are in the right place. There is no casualties. If you are here in this call, it's because God, the universe, had put you here because you're in a search of doing or being something more, and you are in the right place. So thank you so much for having me. I'll stay here, of course, but I just want to give the mic to another leader. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for sharing that, Christina. And I'll just echo what you said, because in a similar way, so I've actually primarily built my business in person. I've utilized online support because we've moved multiple times. So we've always had team spread out all over the place. But my primary way of building trust and building my business has been in person. And now we're in London, and it's a whole new culture. Everything's so different, and it's honestly been pretty challenging for me, but I'm finally getting to a place where I'm so excited, because I love networking and meeting people that are like-minded. And so as you hear me saying this, you might not be like me, but I want to just encourage you, when you think about the fourth quarter, think about your strengths and the way you're wired. And for me, I've really realized in this move how important it is for me to have people in person that I can link arms with. And that really gives me energy and fire to do everything else I do in my business. So I know that as I continue to move forward, this is one of my main focuses, is to do things, connect with people in person. And I'll also say, because we've moved internationally, there's many people I know that have actually moved internationally primarily to build their doTERRA business. They strategically move to a location that maybe has a founder's opportunity or something like that. That wasn't what we did. We didn't move because of our business. We moved because of a specific calling we felt like God was leading us in. But I see in that I think like God was doing something strategically in the background, and London just brings a lot of people from all over the world. And our team is primarily in the United States. We'll always be invested there, but I'm also excited to explore building internationally more. And that's definitely something we're exploring as we move forward, because we want to launch and support new builders and partners like Christina mentioned. And then the other thing I was going to say is during Founders Club, this might be applicable for some of you, and Heather kind of hinted to this, but during Founders Club, you do things that are like valuable for your business, but it's not necessarily the same way you would have done it exactly if it wasn't a founders push. And so like an example right now, I feel like we're going to be shifting a bit more back towards Power of Three and helping our team specifically with Power of Three, because there's people that are either like really close and they're just not consistently hitting it and it would make a major impact, or there are people that just never had a focus on it and they don't really understand it and they don't know how they could be capitalizing on that. So I love what Christina said too about like the heart of the compensation plan, because it does really highlight the value of aligning as a team and working as a team. And that's definitely something that we want to do in this next season, is really get back to that with our team and help them focus in on their Power of Three, because that extra $50 that pays for their product, or the extra $250 that helps pay for groceries, or the extra $1,500 that like pays car payments or whatever, mortgage, like that's massive. And especially I think right now with the economy and the way that things are shifting, things are getting more expensive, people are going to want to diversify and have ways to like pay for those extra payments. And it's going to make space for flexibility and less stress. Like Melissa was saying, like how are the people out there going to make it work? I just like see that as like such a clear need. And we can help them by teaching them about the value of doTERRA products in their own life and how they can save money through that, but also the business and how they can diversify and pay for expenses through the compensation plan and how awesome it is. So anyways, those are a few things. I also agree with Heather. We've created systems in the past, but they kind of need a revamp because things shift. And we'll see how much work gets done on that. Because like Heather said, there's always lots in the fourth quarter, but we're really excited about creating systems for our team and just continuing to support what's already moving forward with those things. So
I'm going to say one more thing about why the long-term matters. Being in this, 7 years, people watch you. They watch you and watch you and watch you. They watch you for years before they move forward. So at the beginning of my business, my front line was completely different than it is now. Actually, there's no one that's on my front line right now that was originally on my front line because of so much that changed. But one person that was on my front line, and I have to be careful what I share here, but they're in a situation right now where they actually want a potential career change because what they're in right now. So they were originally building with me. They decided that, and this was at the very beginning, like when we knew nothing, you guys. So the way I was building with her then, there's no chance I would build with her that way now. Like we've learned so much, right? And now we have the $35 fee gone, like so much different. But anyway, so she backed out. It just didn't feel like it was right for her, which was fine. This is how it was supposed to be. And now here we are 7 years later, and I'm sitting in a car with her just a couple of weeks ago, and she's like almost in tears about the decision that she has to make, like how she's going to move forward in her current role. Like she has a baby, wants more babies. And it's like, I was able to turn to her and go, there's this plan that I've been on, and you could step back into it and do it. And just the fact that I was able to show her like my commitment and my responsibility and my like leadership that I've developed over the last 6 years and be able to re-offer it on a platter to her, that was such a gift. And it's like something they're actually considering. So anyway, that's why the long term, I feel like in this next season, it's a lot of what Heather's saying. doTERRA makes this last quarter so freaking easy for us. You just have to do the work. If you haven't like learned from your upline or hear from corporate about the way that they're doing post-convention tours. It's impressive in how simple it will be to utilize promos and freebies to get people not only enrolled, but reactivated, like some really genius stuff they're rolling out without a huge, like you could do it with 15 to 40 people in your event. So that's something that I'm very excited about, and I'm going to figure out how to do that. The other piece is I feel like so much of my team, including myself, has lost track with the way that we educate people. We used to do a lot of it on Facebook and have walked away from Facebook, but didn't like really like develop systems to do it in other places. And so back when we were in those days, like I always tell my team, you don't have less customers on your team now than you did like 3 years ago when volume was higher. It's just that people are spending less because they don't understand all these new products. I just ran into someone the other day that said, "You have sunscreen?" And I'm like, how do you not know that we have the greatest sunscreen that's ever been produced? So, and she's been a customer for as long as I have. It just like we've lost track with some people because life is busy and a little bit chaotic and there's a lot of distraction. And so we really want to streamline how we're educating our customers, because we played around with it a little bit during BOGO week. And we had people that were getting on this class for the first time in 3 years, people that hadn't been on an event. They're like, "Oh, this is exactly what I needed to get re-inspired." And I checked a few of those orders after that, and they were like some massive orders in June. So I know that education works, but we have to continue to commit to it. Even the customers that have been around forever, they still need that dose every once in a while to keep excited and be excited about what we're doing here. So I don't know if we have any time for Q&A. And it looks like Heather's been rocking it out in the chat here, but if there was like 1 or 2 really awesome questions that you know would apply to a lot of people, maybe we could take a couple of those before we finish out.
Yeah, I think I tried to answer. I think I answered most of them. And I know I already answered this question. So the last thing I was going to say, if there are no more questions, was just something Kristen reminded me of in the chat. She said, in the fourth quarter will go so much better if you're already building momentum in July and August. So I just had a whole team call with my team on this, and we do this every, probably every quarter. We talk about this topic, but one thing doTERRA does is they're always looking at like data and trends and projections and things like that. And one thing that they can tell is they can tell what they can tell what your business is going to look like in 4 to 6 months based on what you're doing now. Or in other words, you could say your business right now is a reflection of what you were doing and the seeds you were planting 4 to 6 months ago. And so just always keep that in mind. If you're struggling in this season, like look back and what were you doing 4 to 6 months ago. And so that's already going to be really big. And so if you can spend this summer, just nurturing and keeping in touch enough rather than trying to scramble and be like, I haven't talked to you all summer, but there's new products and it's just like crazy. It will be crazy for you, and you'll feel actually paralyzed and not do anything with the fall season. So that's my last tip is don't let the summer just totally go. You might shift how you do things, because again, identify the season, but plant those seeds for the fall.
That's so good. We should end on that.
I'm like, even imagine if right now and in July and August, you meet your like couple business partners that you launch through the fourth quarter. I'm like, that's my plan.
Yeah, because the months to come are the best, right? So that new builder will have a lot of strength, right?
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Kristen and Tyler, for organizing this call. It was your idea, right? Or with Heather? It was Kristen, right?
Let's do it.
Thank you so much. I think these spaces are so much needed, and I hope to see you at convention, and hope to see you everybody thriving in your business. Please, if you see us around, please come and say hi. We'd love to meet you all. Thank you for giving us an hour of your Saturday, and we love you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, y'all.
Love you all.
Bye, guys.